is bigger than MMA. Big, 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 bigger. Quote, Canelo Alvarez. Now, I've never really been into this argument. Like, as an MMA guy, I've never felt that we were taking on boxing. And I do remember a time when there was a brief phenomenon where we thought we were going to have to. In fact, it was a three-way battle. It was MMA, exclusively UFC. Pro wrestling, exclusively WWE. And boxing, which nobody knows who in the hell puts on. So, but I remember when we were having to talk a little bit nasty about boxing, talk a little bit nasty about wrestling. We thought that we had the same fans that were going to side with one. And that lasted for a couple of years. That phenomenon lasted a couple of years until we found out, no, it's the same fans and they like them all for the most part. Like the wrestling fans will come over and watch MMA as well. And then everything kind of settled down. Even started to find a way to work together. And then you even had the pro wrestling guys, use Brock Lesnar by example, came over and did MMA. Like everybody kind of put their guns down. But the idea did get resurfaced yesterday at the press conference. And Canelo stuck up for his sport. And I believe it was Max Kellerman that was talking. And one guy you do not want to argue with in boxing is Max Kellerman. There's two guys you don't argue with when it comes to boxing. Teddy Atlas, Max Kellerman. Max is just fantastic. And he's a historian and he knows this stuff off the top of his head. And it was a very big deal when Max Kellerman came over to MMA. He stayed with boxing, he just came over to MMA, much like Teddy Atlas, by example. But Max made a statement at the press conference that MMA is getting bigger than boxing. And if I'm misquoting him, he even made the statement all the way, MMA is bigger than boxing. Either way, you get the theme. I'm not looking to get the quote right. I'm looking to share the theme with you because Canelo grabbed the mic and he spoke up and goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Boxing, big, big, bigger. Don't ever get wrong. Boxing is bigger. And how are we proving that? It's maybe the reason that I never get involved is I don't know how you would quantify that. MMA has been very disciplined, UFC specifically, to not reveal their pay-per-view numbers. Now, there's other numbers that they have to reveal. Live gate, by example. They owe the commission 6% right off the top. Every single dollar and every single seat is very well audited and accounted for, but pay-per-view they were able to keep to themselves. Now, there was algorithms out there. Dave Meltzer was the closest. Dave Meltzer did not know what he was talking about, but his lies and guesses were closer than other people's lies and guesses. I will share with you. The UFC would never confirm nor deny. And in boxing, whoever's the biggest boxing event is simply whoever's PR team lied more than somebody else. That's it. You have no idea what the biggest boxing fight of all time is. You could find out with very simple research what the biggest live gate was. And live gate will generally accurately transfer to pay-per-view, but I'm just sharing, you don't know what the numbers in boxing are. Conor and Floyd is the example that I love to give, but there was a phenomenon going around called fake news at that time. I did not believe there was fake news. I believed what I saw in the news. And that was the first time I was in the building. My mother had decided to come the day of the event. And buying her a ticket, while expensive, was no problem because there was thousands of them. And I was on the floor and I was participating in this. And I'm surrounded by people that are telling the world that we are at a sold-out arena. And we weren't. Thousands of empty seats. And I'm only sharing that with you because then the numbers started to come out and how well it did. There's nothing of whatever there's ever been on pay-per-view. It doesn't matter if you want to talk monster trucks. What else goes on pay-per-view? There's been a few concerts put on pay-per-view, sporting events. If your live audience, your microcosm, is not sold out, you did not then go and do huge pay-per-view numbers, just so you understand. Does not work that way. You can break everything down in life to a microcosm. A little TV show that'll make it on network television will start with 30 random people that come in a room and watch it and then give notes whether they liked it or not. And that 30 is then to translate to the whole world. I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like, there's a very scientific way to do this. And the first time that I was ever part of a lie where I'm looking around going, fake news, is when I was on the floor for Floyd versus Conor, which, by the way, officially goes down as one of the biggest boxing events of all time. Now, that's not confirmed by Cox, by Xfinity, by Time Warner. That is not confirmed by any publicly traded CEO anywhere. But the person hired to put out the press release got it picked up by every sports network there was. And if you were to go and Google it, that lie will come up. And the only ones that beat it or came in under it is whoever's PR team put out a lie. You will not have any executive or a president of any publicly traded company that is tied to accurate information by the FTC. None, zero, that will back up the numbers of boxing, but it doesn't stop the story from going around. Now, where am I going with that? I'm only sharing for you, when you come up with an idea that boxing has been surpassed by MMA, with what evidence? You could turn to boxing. And you could look at the purses, which most people do, which are much bigger than MMA. You could look at live gates. And while there's not as many and they're not as consistent, if you just went on a curve to the absolute top, you would have some pretty good evidence. And I do wonder it to a degree. I'm very fascinated by that side of it. You, at some point, are doing sustainable business, which is very simply defined by your profits exceeding your expenditures. That's it. Or you're giving money away. And there's a very big difference. Francis Ngannou was very, very upset with me, took this as very disrespectful. And I even had an argument with Ariel. Ariel was on Francis's side. And the statement was very simple. Francis made $10 million to fight Tyson Fury, and I had a problem with that. Francis was given $10 million to fight Tyson Fury. What's the definition? Well, if you make $10 million, you brought in something larger than that. The people above you, the people that are signing your check, everybody makes money by the time it trickles down to you. If everybody above you loses money, you are then given money, which you have every right to take. Fair play. But there's a difference. And one is sustainable and one is not. And I just bring it to you because we do see within boxing, I mean, even these numbers have come out for the Canelo fight. $100 million, going to get $100 million to fight Crawford. And it's an event that comes with a flat fee. It was purchased by Netflix, which at some point as a public company will make disclosures and we will know what that number is. But it's not to exceed $100 million. So there's another game being played, which is, hey, we're breaking into the business and we've got to make a splash and here's what we're going to do. I don't second guess these decisions that are done by very intelligent people that are in the business. I'll just tell you that I'm fascinated by them. And in MMA, if you paid a guy $100 million, you're not going to see him again. He will not come back. And that's a broad stroke. But I don't think that you could name a guy that would. But in boxing, it's a little bit different. Guy makes $100 million and realizes the only thing better than making $100 million is to make it twice. And it's a very interesting perspective. And to see Canelo on top surprises me. There is every era, and it will not change when Canelo leaves. And he's very good. This is a very, very talented guy. I don't question him, but I became familiar with Canelo when he was a teenager. I watched him get a good push, undefeated, 21 years old. And he was going to be the new face of boxing. And to do that, he was going to bring down Floyd Mayweather, who he was fighting, who, by the way, was 36 years old. And Floyd was simply too old. This is the way the story was told. They're going to pass the torch. Floyd is going to go in and do the job. Floyd not only beat him, he beat him clearly for 10 rounds. He lost 2. He won 10 rounds, but he beat him in everywhere you could beat him. He was faster. He was a better boxer. He was tougher. He was in better shape. And Canelo was able to come back from all of these things. And he has done a fantastic job. If this sounds like a Canelo insult, it's not. I'm saying that I kind of stand back and I'm studying this and go, hey, why did this work? Why is Canelo able to command $100 million when this fight doesn't happen without Terrence Crawford, who, by the way, is going to win the fight? Like, how does that whole thing work? But it is interesting. It is interesting to look at it from a perspective of I made money as opposed to I was given money. I got money. It's interesting to say that boxing has been surpassed by MMA, which is the sport that I stand with and the sport that I love. I just don't know that that is an accurate statement. I don't know with what numbers you would have to make that assessment. The growth of MMA, let's go back 30 years. Let's go back to 1993, the first time they set that octagon up. The growth of MMA is exponentially more than the growth of boxing, but that's a completely jaded number to the statement that MMA has surpassed boxing. And there's a number of ways to be validated as a sport, but there is no way better to get validation as a sport than to be put into the Olympic Games. You'll have a number of people that say they do a sport, and you look around and go, what's it called? Is it a real sport? Is it not? It's not in the junior highs, it's not in the high schools, but there's nothing that will end that argument faster than if you were recognized by the Olympic Games, which again would be a check for boxing. So I find that discussion to be very interesting. I don't know that it's a fight that we need to have. The idea of MMA, boxing, and professional wrestling, having to duke it out. But simultaneously right now, they're all under one roof, right? As soon as the bell rings for Crawford versus Canelo, boxing, MMA, and wrestling are all under one roof. And it seems like a debate and an argument that wouldn't need to take place. But if it is going to be brought up, I respected that Canelo stood with his sport and didn't buckle just because the master of ceremonies was standing right there. But I don't know that this statement is accurate. Do you believe, and if you do, with what evidence, that MMA has surpassed boxing?